making this video how an ambulance ride can hurt you about the fact that ambulances are excluded from the No Surprise Billing Act that protects people from surprise billings. So ambulances now can basically charge you whatever they want. And if you're in an emergency, it's good to know about these changes to the plans and how you can protect yourself. So let's get right into it. Medicare coverage of ambulance services. This official government booklet explains when Medicare helps cover ambulance services, what you pay, what Medicare pays, what to do if Medicare doesn't cover your ambulance service. And it's a big problem. If you don't have Medicare and just have regular health insurance, this applies to you also. This information in this video applies to all people with original Medicare and regular health insurance. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan or other Medicare health plan, you have the same basic benefits, but the rules vary by plan. Your costs, rights, protections, and choices about where you can get your care may be different. For more information, read your plan materials or call your plan. I would suggest call your plan or speak to your agent and find out which is the local ambulance service in your network. It will save you a lot of heartache. Medicare coverage of ambulance services, Part B, medical insurance, covers ambulance services to or from a hospital, critical access hospital, CAH, or a skilled nursing facility. Medicare covers and helps pay for ambulance services only when other transportation would endanger your health, like if you have a health condition that requires this type of transportation. What they're saying is, if you could take a taxi or Uber, they prefer you do that because it's a whole lot cheaper if you don't need oxygen or blood or cardiac arrest. This would be a lot cheaper. In some cases, Medicare may also cover ambulance services if you have End-Stage Renal Disease, permanent kidney failure requiring dialysis or a kidney transplant, or you need dialysis and need ambulance transportation to or from a dialysis facility. Medicare will only cover ambulance services to the nearest appropriate medical facility that's able to give you the care you need. Now, the nearest appropriate medical facility is a big word, and you have to be aware of that. Because if you go to inappropriate medical facility, they might not cover you. If you choose to be transported to a facility farther away, Medicare or your insurance plan will pay what it costs to take you to the closest facility that can give you the care you need. If no local facilities are able to give you the care you need, Medicare will pay for transportation to the nearest facility outside of your local area that's able to give you necessary care. Emergency ambulance transportation. You can get emergency ambulance transportation when you've had a sudden medical emergency and your health is in serious danger because you can't safely transport by other means, like by car or taxi. Medicare might cover emergency ambulance transportation when A. You're in shock, unconscious, or bleeding heavily. You need skilled medical treatment during transportation. Remember, these are only examples. The Medicare coverage depends on the seriousness of your medical condition and if you couldn't be safely transported by other means. So what they're saying is medical insurance is only interested in paying if you're bleeding heavily. You need medical treatment during transportation or other things that could save your life. But if that's not the case, they might not pay. So this is why it's crucial to know that Uber and a taxi might be far better and far cheaper and less expensive than taking an ambulance. Let's talk about the next thing, air transportation. Medicare and your health insurance plan may pay for emergency ambulance transportation in airplane or helicopter if your health conditions requires immediate and rapid ambulance transportation that ground transportation can provide. And one of these apply. Your picked up location can be easily reached by ground transportation or can't be easily reached. Long distance or other obstacles like heavy traffic could stop you from getting care quickly if you travel by ground ambulance. Let me tell you, an ambulance ride in a helicopter can be $6,000. Let me repeat that, $6,000. Make sure that you have coverage for air transportation in your medical plan. Non-emergency ambulance transportation. You may be able to get non-emergency ambulance transportation if you need it to treat or diagnose your health condition, and the use of any other transportation method could endanger your health. Now, let's read that again. You may be able to get non-emergency ambulance transportation if you need it to treat or diagnose your health condition, and the use of any other transportation method would endanger your health. Now, if your health is not endangered and you use an ambulance, you might not be covered. In some cases, Medicare may cover limited, medically necessary, non-emergency ambulance transportation if your doctor writes an order stating that the ambulance transportation is necessary due to your medical condition. Even if the situation isn't an emergency, ambulance transportation may be medically necessary to get you to a hospital or other health care facility. Now, bear in mind, what they're trying to tell you is only in extreme cases, take an ambulance. Note, if you get scheduled non-emergency ambulance transportation for 3 or more round trips in a 10-day period, or at least once a week for 3 weeks or more, from an ambulance company based in Arkansas, Colorado, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Maryland, Delaware, District of Columbia, North Carolina, Virginia, or West Virginia, you may be affected by a Medicare program. Medicare will expand the model to remaining states and territories through 2022. Visit Medicare.gov for more information. Advance Beneficiary Notice of Non-Coverage. That's a terrible notice. It's there on the right. When you get ambulance services in a non-emergency situation, the ambulance company considers if Medicare will cover the transportation. If the transportation will usually be covered, but the ambulance company believes that Medicare or your insurance company may not pay for your particular ambulance service because it isn't medically reasonable and necessary, those are two magic words, medically reasonable and necessary, it must give you an advance beneficiary notice of non-coverage to charge you for the service. You won't be asked to sign an ABN in an emergency. A MBN is notice that a doctor, supplier, or provider gives you before furnishing an item or service if they believe that Medicare or your insurance company will deny payment. ABN, or Advanced Beneficiary Notice of Non-Coverage, have options that allow you to choose if you want the service and explain your responsibility to pay for the service. If you choose the option showing you want and will pay for the service and you sign the ABN, you're responsible for paying if Medicare or your insurance doesn't. The ambulance provider or supplier may ask you to pay at the time of service. Now imagine, unless you're really in bad shape and can't take care of your things, you use an ambulance. But if you could sign an MBN, you don't need an ambulance. So, word to the wise, avoid ambulances at all costs. Here's an example. Mr. Smith is a hospital inpatient and needs to travel to a different hospital for a procedure that can be done at the hospital where he was admitted. Mr. Smith requires ambulance transportation because of his medical conditions. But if he has to be transported by air ambulance, Medicare will cover the cost of the ground ambulance transportation, but won't cover air ambulance transportation because this level of service isn't medically reasonable or necessary. Remember those words, medically reasonable or necessary. The ambulance company must give Mr. Smith an ABN before transporting him by air ambulance, or the ambulance company will be responsible for any cost over the amount that Medicare won't pay for grant transportation. So let's read that again. Medically reasonable and necessary. If it's not, you might get this notice and be on the hook for quite a few dollars. If you're in a situation that requires an ambulance company to give you ABN and you refuse to sign it, the ambulance company will decide whether to take you by ambulance. If the ambulance company decides to take you and Medicare doesn't pay, you may still be responsible for the cost of the trip, even though you refuse to sign the ABN. So, Uber, taxi, family, friends, anybody that could get you at the hospital better than an ambulance if you don't need heart resuscitation or blood or things like that, and you're conscious and you know what you're doing, don't go by ambulance. Voluntary ABN. If an ambulance company believes that Medicare or your insurance company won't cover an ambulance service because it doesn't meet Medicare's definition of a covered service, it may give you a voluntary ABN as a courtesy. In this situation, the ambulance company isn't required to give you an MBA to bill you for the service. If the ambulance company does give you a voluntary ABN, you are required to choose an option or sign it. In this situation, the ambulance company expects that Medicare won't pay for the service and you're financially responsible. So, word to the wise. Avoid ambulances if you can. Let's go on to the next thing. And remember, Uber and taxi, explaining why Medicare won't pay. Paying for ambulance services. What do I pay? If Medicare or your insurance company covers your ambulance trip, you pay 20% of the Medicare approved amount after you met the yearly Part B deductible. In most cases, the ambulance company can charge you more than 20% of the Medicare approved amount and any unmet Part B deductible. All ambulance companies must accept the Medicare approved amount as payment in full. Note, if a critical access hospital or an entity owned and operated by a CAH transports you, what you and Medicare pay may be different. What does Medicare pay? If Medicare covers your ambulance trip, Medicare will pay 80% of the Medicare approved amount after you met the yearly Part B deductible. Medicare's payment may be different if you're transported by CAH or an entity that's owned and operated by a CAH, Critical Access Hospital. How do you know if Medicare didn't pay for ambulance services? You'll get a Medicare summary notice in the mail every 3 months that lists all the services billed to Medicare, including ambulance services. Or visit your Medicare.gov to log into or create your secure Medicare account to check your Medicare claims or view electronic MSNs. Your MSN will tell you why Medicare didn't pay for your ambulance trip. So, let's cover what Part B is in Medicare. Provider services, which is doctors, durable equipment like respirators and electronic equipment, home health services, ambulance services, preventive services, x-rays and lab tests, and certain prescription drugs are under Part B of Medicare. You ride or fly, pay Part B deductible, and then you pay the co-insurance. So the idea is you should have a secondary policy to supplement Medicare, either a supplement policy or an Advantage plan. Does Medicare pay for ambulance transportation? Example, if you choose to go to a facility further than the closest one, your notice may say this: payment for transportation is allowed only to the closest facility that can provide the necessary care. If you used an ambulance to move from one facility to another, one closer to your home, your notice may say this: transportation to a facility to be closer to a home or family is not covered. Remember, these are only sample examples of statements you may see on your Medicare summary notice. Summaries and statements vary depending on your situation. If you have questions about what Medicare pays, call the phone number or 1-800-MEDICARE or your insurance carrier if you're not on Medicare. Medicare rights and protections. What can I do if Medicare doesn't pay for an ambulance trip? If Medicare doesn't pay for an ambulance trip that you think you should be covered, you or someone you trust can review your Medicare summary notice and any other paperwork related to your ambulance bill. You may find errors that can be fixed. Now, what I'm trying to bring out in this video, avoid the ambulance if you can. Only go to an ambulance if you have no other recourse. You're bleeding. You were in a car accident. You're unconscious. You have no choices. And you don't know that under a recent law that that created a bill called No Surprise Billing excludes ambulances. So there was a recent experience where there were 3 people in a car that was hit by a bus, and 2 of the people had major problems. They were taken by 2 separate ambulances. Their bills were $600 each. The third person, which was hardly injured, but the ambulance was there, the third ambulance said, "We'll take you to the hospital." She said, "Well, why not?" She got a bill for $3,600 because they are not regulated on what they can charge you. If it's a local ambulance service or a fire department or EMS, those type of people could charge you whatever they want. The ambulance company didn't fully document why you needed ambulance transportation. If this happens, you can contact the doctor who treated you for the discharge, social worker, or get more information about your need for ambulance transportation. You can send this information to the company that handles bills for Medicare or your insurance and ask your doctor to send it. Look for MSN for the company's address. 2. Ambulance company didn't file the proper paperwork. If this happens, you can ask the ambulance company to refile your claim. If your refining your claim doesn't result in payment, you can file an appeal. Now, on here, on the right, we have Medicare rights and access to care. You have access to doctors, specialists, hospitals. Learn about treatment choices in clear language. Participate in treatment decisions. Healthcare services in a language you understand in a culturally sensitive way. Emergency care when and where you need it. If your health is in danger and emergency help needed, call 911. Medicare rights and claims and appeals. You have the right to have a claim for payment filed with Medicare. Get decisions about health care payment, coverage of services, prescription drug coverage. Get an appeal review of the decision above. Now, this also applies to regular health insurance. What if Medicare still won't pay? If you have Medicare or insurance, health insurance, you have certain guaranteed rights, including the right to appeal decisions about payment or coverage of services. If Medicare doesn't cover an ambulance trip and you think your trip should have been covered, you have the right to appeal. An appeal is action you take if you disagree with a coverage or payment decision Medicare makes. To file an appeal, follow these steps. 1. Review your Medicare summary notice or the bill from the insurance company. It will tell you why your bill wasn't paid, how long you have to file an appeal, and what steps you need to take. 2. Carefully follow the instructions on the MSN. Sign it and send it to the address of the company on the first page of the MSN. You will also include a letter explaining why you believe the ambulance trip should have been covered. Ask your doctor or healthcare provider for any information that may help your case and attach copies to your signed MSN. 4. Keep a copy of everything you sent to Medicare as part of your appeal or the insurance company. Or you can use MSS Form 2027 and file it with the Medicare contractor at the address listed on the MSN. To view or print this form, visit medicare.gov and download the forms. Also, you can call Medicare 1-800-MEDICARE. MSS accessible communication. The Center for Medicare and Medicare Services provides free auxiliary aids and services, including information in accessible formats like Braille, large print, data, audio files, and relay services. So there's a lot of ways to contact Medicare, also a lot of ways to contact your insurance company. On your membership card or your insurance policy from your medical coverage, it has a number to contact customer service. So make sure you make use of that. Stand up and protect your rights. Don't get suckered into paying something you don't have to. Non-discrimination notice. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services doesn't exclude, deny benefits to, or otherwise discriminate against any person on the basis of race, color, national origin, disability, sex, or age, and the admission to, participation in, or receipt of the service and benefits any of its programs and activities, whether carried out by CMS directly or through a contractor or any other entity which MSS arranges to carry out its programs and activities. Now, if you have any of those problems, you can contact 1-800-MEDICARE, or you can call 1-800-368-1019. Or you can write to U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, 7500 Security Boulevard, Baltimore, Maryland. 1850 official business, priority for private use, 300 MS product number, one of the revised January 22. Now, what this is saying, that you cannot be discriminated against in getting service from Medicare or any health insurance. So please like, share, and be aware and tell people about this, the danger of using ambulances. See you on the next video. Please share, subscribe, like, and let everybody know. What is a surprise ambulance billing? What's a surprise ambulance billing, you want to know? When the ambulance service that picks you up is not a member of your health plan service network, your insurer pays what is considered fair, and then, surprise, the ambulance service sends you a bill for the balance. What can I do if I get one of these bills? Ask your insurance company to pay more. United Healthcare says we encourage people to first call their insurance company if they are balanced bill, so they can help determine what additional payment, if any, is owed. Call the ambulance service billing department. Does the company have a financial assistance program? Can it offer you a discount or a monthly payment plan? File a complaint with your state insurance commissioner's office, state attorney general's office, or the Better Business Bureau. Ask a consumer advocacy group to help you negotiate the bill down. Can I avoid these bills ahead of time? Possibly. If it's not an emergency, first ask your insurance company which ambulance companies are in network. What do you pay for in-network and out-of-network ambulance rides? If you are Medicare or Medicaid or TRICARE, you should be protected from surprise bills, though there are exceptions. That's what to do in the situations. Now, surprise billing was something that was not included in the surprise billing law that was recently passed. It excluded EMS ambulances from fire departments. So if you get a fire department come to you, you may be in for a big surprise with balanced billing. Again, please share this information with everybody in your world that's a veteran or on Medicare or any kind of insurance, or anybody. Make them aware that that ambulance ride, unless it's absolutely life-saving and necessary, you may be responsible for the cost. My name is Bill Vargas. My company is Senior Health Corp. I'm serving the needs of seniors and veterans because I am a veteran serving veterans. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Text me at 1-845-380-5809. See you on the next video. Please share. Bye.